Hi, today I'm going to be showing you how you can make these little clay leaf bowls that are really good for decorative purposes, ring bowls, anything that you really want to put in them. I like to put dice in them myself for Dungeons and Dragons. But let's get going. So it's very simple. On supplies wise, you will need some large leaves of the size and shape that you want. I like these oak leaves myself because I've got some interesting texture going around the edges. You'll need a large piece of clay. I'm using air dry clay myself. You're welcome, of course, to use polymer or something that you can bake in the oven. If you are using air dry clay, please keep in mind, you cannot use these for food or drinks or anything like that. Air dry clay is not safe for that. So if you're going that route, just know this is just for pretties, not for food. Besides the clay, you're also gonna need some cutting implements, whether that's a knife. I'm gonna be using toothpicks myself. If you're doing a bowl, you're gonna be wanting this nice bowl shape, so that gives it some structure. And just because I like having this to keep my surfaces clean, I've got a little piece of freezer paper, wax paper, aluminum foil, whatever you wanna use, just as long as it works for you. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do with our clay is we're gonna put it on our surface that we're working on. And you're just gonna start generally squishing it out. And then we're gonna worry about seeing if it's the right shape for the leaf. I recommend not getting this too thin, because if you make it very, very thin, your likelihood of breaking the bowl is gonna be higher. But if you're just doing it for decorative purposes and you're not planning on storing anything in it, you do you. You follow your artistic vision. All right, I like to do about 1/4 inch myself on thickness. Let me just get out my ruler here. Okay, so I'm just gonna measure my clay and see how thick it is. All right, so it's a little thinner than 1/4 inch. That's all right by me. And then I'm gonna take my leaves here and see first which one I like, and then which one I'm going to do. So I think I'm gonna do the big one. All right, so we're good to go. So at this step, you're gonna wanna get something heavy to squish the leaf down into it. If you have a rolling pin, that's ideal. I don't have a rolling pin with me today, so I'm gonna use my nice heavy duty water bottle here. As you can see, I'm just squishing that firmly into the clay. And then I'm gonna lift it up a little bit to see how my impression came out. It's not perfect, but again, I'm okay with that. All right, so at this point, don't lift your leaf off the clay, because what we're gonna do then is we're gonna cut around all these nice edges here. So I'm just doing a rough cut here first. Then I'll come back and clean up these edges. As you can see, they're pretty rough looking. Okay, so I've got my rough shape cut out now. So if you look at the sides here on my edges though, a lot of them are kind of messy. So I'm gonna go back through and just try and neaten them up a little bit. Okay, so I've got my edges neatened up to now. So I'm gonna lift this up and we'll see how it looks. Oh, nice. So as you can see, by rolling my heavy water bottle over the top, we got those nice impressions from our veins. That's another thing you'll wanna look for in any leaves you get, is if it has a more complex vein pattern, it's gonna make whatever you cut out look more like a leaf. Okay, so now comes the boring part of this project. One of the reasons why I like to put this on a piece of paper, because then what I do is I get myself a bowl, but this is what's gonna provide the structure to our leaf bowl. We're gonna lift this whole piece of paper up and we are going to lay it inside of this bowl. We're gonna have to reshape our leaf as we put it in there so that it will actually fit inside of the bowl. So this bowl might be a smidge small for this leaf, but I'm gonna make it work. It's just gonna be extra curly. As you can see, I'm having to bend the clay and distort it a bit so that it will actually fit inside. The other thing you could do, if you have aluminum foil, you can actually form a bowl shape with that, and that can work really nicely too. I think I'm gonna call that good enough. So I think I probably could have used a slightly bigger bowl, but that kind of gives you the idea of we're putting it inside this bowl with this piece of paper. You do want to have that piece of paper in there so it doesn't actually stick to anything, and then you'll be able to get this out later. Air dry clay, you're usually going to want to let it dry for at least 24 hours before trying anything with it. Really the way to tell if it's dry is if it's not cool to the touch anymore. But yeah, so after it dries, you'll get something that looks like this, or in that neighborhood, depending on what you do. I've tried a few different paint experiments with mine as well, which I just like to do for fun. You could leave it totally plain and just have it very, very simple like that. This one I tried mixing paint into the clay as I did it, acrylic paint. These ones, as you can see, I actually painted the veins on the leaf, and that is very simple. So let me show you how you do that. So if you decide to go the route of painting the veins on your leaf, what you'll need to have is some small, very small amount of paint. I use metallic myself just because I think it looks cool. And I'm gonna get my trusty toothpick again, and I'm going to use that to gently dab into the veins of the leaf. If you have a very small paintbrush too, that works great as well. I just don't have a very tiny paintbrush. But yeah, and then you just repeat that process on all the other veins. But as you can see then, it can create like this cool metallic effect on your leaf. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please be sure to go to mesacountylibraries.org if you want to find more cool projects like this, or if you want to check out any books that we have on pottery, clay, anything like that. We've got a lot of really great books and resources if you want to learn more about those things. So thanks so much for joining us today.